All right, everybody, thanks for joining us today. Drea here to stitch out the University 202 pot holder. So this adorable pot holder is completed in the hoop. You won't have to worry about any binding or any backing, any twists and turns. It's done all in the hoop. And again, if you want to stitch this out with us or want to follow along in your 202 curriculum, this section is on page 115. So remember, in each of our project sections, you'll get some information to start with, some little tips and tricks, and then you'll start out with those photo steps. Now, I went ahead and printed mine just to have some guidelines here, but we are going to illustrate everything that you see in these directions we'll be doing here today. So I do have just a reminder so everyone can see what's going on at home. We'll probably use some darker threads than we would normally use for some colors. We might make some little wacky standout choices, but we're going to make a pot holder from this 202 curriculum. Now, this one says too hot to handle, super cute. It's more of a little grabby. You can put your fingers in. It does use Insulbrite and batting. If you're not familiar with Insulbrite, I'll show it to you before we get started. It is a type of heat-resistant batting. So some of our guys in the building said it almost looks like an air filter. It has kind of a metallic material in here, and it has some nice fluffy on top. It is called Insulbrite, and it's heat-proof, or heat-resistant, I should say. And it's meant to help protect you or your surface. It's great for pot holders and trivets, and it cuts just like batting. So I've pre-cut a piece here to use in this pot holder. If you don't have Insulbrite, that's okay. You can use extra regular batting, whatever you have and prefer, but we do recommend trying out that Insulbrite to get your heat-resistant pot holder. So now I'm seeing a lot of people joining us, trying to make sure we're good and ready to get started. Again, 115 for the directions. And we'll be making a pot holder. The one we're stitching out says Queen of the Kitchen, because you already know. And I have my nice hoop here. I have a piece of no-show mesh stabilizer that's hooped. Now, I'm sure you're familiar with our projects, but just in case you're not, this starts out just like any quilt block that we would stitch here. And our quilt blocks are always built from the stabilizer up. So we start with our no-show mesh. That's our base. Nothing else is hooped. And then we'll go ahead and place that into our machine. Now I am using a larger hoop than I need here for illustration purposes. You can use anything your design will fit in or anything that will fit your design, and we are stitching the smaller size here. So I'm going to grab a color thread you can see. Normally we like to use a lighter color for these first portions, but I want to make sure you can see what I'm doing. Once my machine is threaded, that first step, this color doesn't really matter, but again, I want you to see it. The first thing I'll be doing is running my squaring stitch. Now this first step is important because it shows you where to put your batting. So we'll go ahead and run our squaring stitch, the very first step. Somebody said what? Oh, thanks. So we do have our lovely ladies here in the background working hard to make sure this is nice and functional. If you have any questions or if you want to say hello, make sure you tell them hello. A lot of times I'm behind the scenes, so we've done some flip-flopping here. We have the fabulous Brooke and Madison here with us today. So make sure you tell them hello. All right, we have our squaring stitch. Now it is just a plain square. It went around just once because it's just to show us where to put our batting. And this piece is way larger than I need, but I already have it cut. So I'm going to go ahead and place this over the top of our stitches. Your only purpose here is to cover up the square that you have. And then you'll run your next step, which is your tacking stitch to attach this batting. Again, color doesn't really matter here. You'll notice when it runs, this tacking stitch will run twice to make sure your batting is nice and securely attached. And again, you do not need this much material. You'll see I have a giant piece of batting. That's because it was already pre-cut. Once it's attached, you'll want to go ahead and grab your nice handy dandy scissors. I like the double curve applique. You use whatever type you prefer. And after it's finished, we're going to trim away this excess batting. And I'll try to get a little close up so you can see, but I am going to take my hoop out to trim just so I don't accidentally bump it. Some people like to trim in the machine. I can't do it. So once I finish trimming, I'll make sure to show you exactly what I did. All I'm doing here, if you can see these stitches, I'm going to trim right up to the stitch line on all 4 sides. So trim away any excess batting on all 4 sides of your stitch. You want to get nice and close, so this is where your good sharp scissors are very handy. If you've never tried cutting on camera, I recommend it. Super fun.
We have a question.
Oh, a question. Yes, ma'am.
Are there a lot of different no-show stabilizers, good versus not so good ones to not purchase?
So the question was about different brands of stabilizer. Now, no-show mesh is branded, of course. There are several other cutaway mesh, or basically what we do in-house. I'll be perfectly honest with you. We shop a lot like you do. So one of my favorite parts of my job here as creative director is buying the things. I get to pull threads and fabrics and all kinds of notions, and that includes stabilizer. We don't make stabilizer, so we shop again like you do, and we use a lot of different brands. Anything that has a good strong texture, this one has kind of a crisscross weave. We use a variety of brands, and we really haven't found one that we prefer over the other. But we like just any good cutaway or no-show mesh. So here is our trimmed out square. If you can see that, it's trimmed right up to the stitch line, again, on all 4 sides. You don't want to leave any excess. This is just your underlayer. This is your batting. So we'll put our lovely hoop right back in. Make sure it's nice and locked. And then, just like you're building a quilt block, we'll want to go on through and we'll place our base fabric. Now this one doesn't have a special extra stitch. Some of ours do, but this one doesn't have an extra stitch. So I have my base fabric here. I pre-cut it into a square just for video purposes. We did choose to back it with some iron-on backing. That is completely up to you. Let me tell you what I mean about this iron-on backing. We like to use any of the Pellon or other branded fusible iron-on to keep our fabrics nice and taut and straight. You can see this piece is backed, and it gives it a little more support. This is a different piece of cotton, but same weight of cotton. It's not backed, and you can see just a little bit less density, a little more firmness here. So we do that just to make sure it's nice and pretty. You'll place your base fabric on top. You do want to leave about a finger width of seam allowance here. We say 1/4 to 1/2 inch. I just use my whole finger as my ruler on all sides. And again, I have overcut this piece. Better to have a little extra than not. Next, we'll tack this down. So we're just tacking our base fabric over our batting, whatever fabric you choose here. I'm using a close color to my fabric for my tacking stitch. It's a little bit darker, again, so you can see it on camera just in case, but typically in-house, our rule is to match as close as possible. So if we have a bright blue, we'll get a bright blue fabric and thread match just to keep things nice and cohesive. It's kind of an Anita house rule here. Now that my fabric is tacked, the next step I have is going to be the stippling. So since this is a quilt block, and I know a lot of you have done our quilt blocks, this should feel just like your regular quilt block so far. All the extra stuff to turn it into a pot holder comes toward the end. So we have some stippling here. I'm going to go ahead and do that in the same color because it's complementary. And while this stippling runs, I want to see if we have any other questions. I see people chatting. Let's see. Any questions so far? Someone said, love the video view. Do what? The different sizing in this collection? Absolutely. So I am stitching the smaller size of this design, again, for time's sake, because we want to show you what's going on, but we don't want you to be here the whole day, although it might be fun. There is an additional size, so you can make one a little bit larger as well. Both sizes of the design, when you're going through your curriculum, you'll see these photo steps like we're referencing here to create it. At the end of the tutorial, you'll see a different set of steps. You'll see a file name at the top, and it will have the sizes directly under that, and then you'll have those machine steps. So that'll show you for not just this pot holder project, but any others in 202, that'll show you all the different design sizes that these come in. That way you can pick your option and choose your hoop size and your project size as well. So that is a great way to get a variety here. The smaller pot holder is really more of like a grabby, but they do work. I have made a few and taken them home, and they are very handy. Cute little gift too. You can pack some little treats or trinkets in there, and they make a great gift. So while we are stippling, I do have, you already know, I have a few goodies up my sleeves. So I want to go ahead and show you our flash sale item. This is one of my favorite collections that we have done here. I have it hiding. Oh, here I am. So this is our seasonal peaking pot holders. It's an Anita's Express. Look how cute this ladybug is. Now, there are a whole collection of these. There is a whole collection of these. They came out originally in September of 2020. So they were in all access. And they have a pocket, so they're a functional pot holder. They're made in 2 hoopings. You'll make your pocket portion and then your base portion. You attach them and bind. Super easy. We take you straight through the tutorial. This is the seasonal peaking pot holders. Now don't get confused with the holiday version. This is the newer set. They came out in September 2020, and they have a design for each season. So they are super cute. It's normally $30, which is a great deal, but you can get it for half off right now. $15 for this collection, seasonal peaking pot holders. We'll throw up some links for you. You can go to our website and check it out. Seasonal peaking pot holders. This is the cutest. I make these every year, and I do put gift cards and little goodies, and then I give them out because I have a big family, and this is a great gift. So really cute, $15 until the 23rd. Y'all better get this one. You will regret it if you miss it. And I'll show that again, but that is probably the cutest one, just my opinion. Now I have some more embroidery here. My stippling is finished. Let's see if we can see that. I know you can see it close up, and I'm going to pull it out so you can see it. One of our things about our designs here, you'll see that stippling is unique. That's because we hand stipple everything. So our digitizers hand draw in the stippling. It's not a fill or a preset. They draw it in differently for each design. That way it perfectly complements the design that you're stitching. So that makes everything nice and professional. I'm going to change out my color here so we can get a nice, pretty finish. I don't want everything gray. For this portion, if you choose to stitch a different design, you'll follow those numbered steps for the embroidery part. Right now it's going to stitch out queen and kitchen, just some words. So we're going to let that stitch. Couple of questions. Yes, ma'am. I don't have that in front of me. So what size is the largest? The one that I'm stitching out now is a little over 5 inches. I believe the one we have is closer to 7.5 or 8. It will again tell you every single specific stitch count included in those numbered steps. And then I believe we have another question as well. In the pot holder one or in the whole thing? I think is it 6? Let's see. Let me double check. Oh, look, they are right in front of my face. Someone asked how many pot holder designs there are in this one, and there are 8. So you'll see, here's a picture of those steps pages that you can kind of see the information on there. The larger size is 7.9 by 7.7, so right at 8 inches, and this size is right over 5 inches. So each of them come in 2 sizes, and you can see, I'll show you some of these. So you have too hot to handle. We have leftovers for quitters. That's cute. There are quite a few other little goodies here. So super cute. The one I'm stitching here is number 6 that says Queen of the Kitchen. So there's give me some sugar. They're meant to be a little punny, kind of tongue-in-cheek. So you can see a good variety there. And of course, if you want them to match your kitchen or match the person you're gifting, just change up your fabric. So we made this one a little brighter and more fun. And it all comes out cute. We love to see your designs and your ideas too. So if you're going to make one of these, when you make one of these, show it to us. Make sure you send us your stitch out, send us an email, tag us on social media. We love to see what you create. We don't want to just see our version. We want to see yours as well. That makes it nice and fun. Now while this stitches, this has a little bit of time left. So instead of letting you sleep after lunchtime here on the East Coast, let's give ourselves a lovely prize drawing. Is it prize time? I think it is. I think it is. So today's giveaway word is going to be, this is very simple, it's going to be thread. So type in the word thread for your chance to win a gift card. This will be a lovely digital gift card. You can use it on our website. Just type in the word thread. Oh, here they come. Thread is the way. Remember, if you're watching this later, you can 100% watch these videos live the first time with us now, or if you're watching the replay later, remember these prizes have already been given out. But if you're watching live, type in thread. You will have a great chance of winning. It just picks a random name. Oh, here they come. Thread, 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 thread. Trying to watch for questions and other things here. Ooh, they're coming through. I'll answer that moment here. So while you all are typing thread, someone asked if this was offered in all access. This 202 curriculum is separate from all access, so it was not. The seasonal peaking pot holder that I showed earlier, this one came out in September of 2020. So it was in that issue of all access. But 202, the pot holder project we're stitching now, is not in all access. It is a separate curriculum you can get on our website. And it is definitely on sale. So it has not just pot holders, but there are all kinds of other projects in it as well. Oh, I still see some more threads coming through. We'll give you another moment or so to type it in, and then we'll announce our winner. Who will it be? Can't hear you, unfortunately. Oh, someone said thank you. You are welcome. I hope that answered your question. If we do happen to miss your question while we're live, feel free to either ask it again or give us an email. We do want to answer them. No one is being skipped intentionally, for sure. All right, Miss Madison, do we have a winner?
Yes,
Cecilia Rodriguez, you are our winner. Congratulations. Make sure you send us an email at this email right below here, customerexperience@anita-gooddesign.com. You are our winner. Was the red one a sew-in single? This red pot holder that I'm holding up is another example from this collection. So the question was, is this red one a sew-in single? Nope. This Too Hot to Handle is one of the designs from your curriculum. It is design number 1, so it's the first one on that page. Just so we can all see what's happening where. Do you need a code for the flash sale? Nope, it's already on sale on our website for that seasonal peaking pot holders. You can get it now until the 23rd for half off. So it should already be popped up for half off on our website. If it is not, we'll get it live in just a moment.
Somebody said that they needed several.
Nice, someone said they made some of these pot holders as gifts. I like to do the same because they're really cute. They work, it's a good functional gift. And it's a great gift card holder as well, so you can double up, double dip. We're still stitching out kitchen. We're on Queen Key right now, so a couple more letters left. That way we can get it nice and pretty. Any other questions out there? What are you all working on? We had some snow days this week in Charlotte. Anybody get any fun weather? I know some of you who live in more cooler climates are like, snow, but it was really fun for those of us that don't get it very often. I have lived in both types of climates, and I'll tell you, when I was scraping the ice off my car this morning, I don't really miss the cold, but it's fun. Someone asked what kind of fabrics for these projects. We're just using some cottons. One of them is a grunge fabric and one is kind of a tonal print. So just cottons here. We did choose to back again with some iron-on, the Pellon, but you don't have to. You 100%, this is a good scrappy project, especially if you do the smaller size and you have some decent sized pieces left. It's a good one. And you can really use pretty much anything, but cotton works really well for us. It's nice and flexible. This is looking really cute. Super cute. So the stitch count on this is not tremendous, but a good way to really kind of decide how much time. Our stitch count on this one is about 9,000. So that doesn't really sound like much at all. But remember, it depends on how fast you run your machine and when you're trimming and cutting and placing things too. So that can kind of add in some time back and forth. but we try to pick out ones that won't put you to sleep, but help you learn a really fun technique. So we have just a few more moments. Yes, another question. Yes, the question is, how many layers of Embroidery do you put in the project so you don't get burned? So I would say, remember these are heat resistant, not necessarily heat proof. So what we recommend in this small one, we just used 1 layer of Embroidery, and then there's also batting in here. Now it is completely up to you. You could, if you really wanted to, you could use Embroidery under or with your batting in that first step if you wanted to. And then you could use it again. You'll see we have another layer on the back later. If you want to use it then, you absolutely could. But we just use that 1 layer, and I don't recommend like holding, you know, anything. But I'm a cast iron gal. I like to cook with my cast iron, and I have some of our pot holders with that 1 layer, and they're fine. Again, I'm not gonna hold it for a long period of time, but they're good to grab and go. All right, we have Queen Kitchen here. A couple of more embroidery steps. I'm gonna change out my color here so I can get some nice pretty accents. So I'm switching over to a metallic because I have a crown accent, and I like to be nice and extra here, nice and bright and bold. So we're gonna put this in, just changing up our color. This might not be as easy to see, but we are using a Floriani metallic gold. I believe it's G2. Nice pretty color, and then there is again a little crown, little tiara, and some little sparkle accents. So if you're following along, we are on machine step number 6 in our AU 202 curriculum. This is on page 124, so you can see all of our machine steps at the bottom of the page. Now what I love about these steps is we tell you the color and we tell you what we need to do. That way you can look at your machine and make sure that you are on the same step that your machine is on. We also have, if you're not familiar, we have our photo steps too that show you step by step what to do. Now the main part that you do want to follow along on these numbered steps, we can't show you every step of actual embroidery. We can show you the more active steps. So that's why we give you both sets and use those together. That way you get a clear picture of what's going on. And yes, we use them in-house too, just to make sure. I don't want to get excited and start talking and mess up something, so. Oh, how cute. Now it has a little crown on top, a couple more accents here. And then I can already prepare by looking at my tutorial. I know my next step has some accents and some words. Perfect. So I'll go ahead and get another color ready for that. Or maybe I'll do a different color. You ever change your mind mid-project? Is that just me? Say, oh, I think I'll make this blue. Just kidding. Keeps it interesting, right? To change it up. Maybe I'll use yellow instead. Why not? Are we ready? Oh, one more sparkle. Any other questions out there? Anybody working on some fun stuff? Somebody said, I had 12 inches of, oh, good grief, 12 inches of snow. That might be a little too much for me. It all depends on where you live and how your area is prepared, right? Charlotte kind of freaks out when we get snow down here. Madison just said, hey, it's supposed to snow again Friday. So, oh boy. Oh boy. My dog liked it. He was very happy. He didn't know what to do. All right, one more color change here. And this is my last little step of embroidery. And before you know it, we'll be done. We don't have too much left. We're on machine step number 7 here. So when you're looking at these machine steps, it tells you what it's stitching in this step. And then it also says, then, so that's where you really want to read because you know you have something else to do. So I'm going to let it stitch out its words. And then, maybe while these stitch, do we have any more questions? Ooh, someone said they're working on Birds and Flowers of the 50 States. That is a beautiful collection. Oh, somebody's working on Racetrack Playmat. Awesome. What else are we working on? All kinds of goodies over here. Someone asked, that's a good question. Someone asked if we ever use wash away for the stabilizer. Not typically on our quilting projects. You could, but for me personally, and what we also view in-house, anything that has a lot of stitching on it, you don't necessarily want to use wash away because then you kind of have to double up. You could, we just typically, time-wise, I would not want to have to wash this project after I created it. This is the completed, again, a different design, but same collection. This is a completed one. You absolutely could use wash away, it won't hurt it. But we use the no-show mesh or the cutaway because it doesn't affect the hand of your project. It's nice and soft and it can stay in there forever. You could even use tearaway if you wanted to, but then it might be crunchy and you would want to try and get that out. So that's the main reason that we use the no-show mesh, is because it can stay in there. But you could, if you wanted to switch it up, it's possible to make it work with other stabilizers. Sure. Good question. Oh, this is coming out cute. I feel like we might have another prize up our sleeves, huh? I know it hasn't been very long, but you know, we like prizes, right? No? Okay, so my prize word this time is kitchen. The word kitchen. I'm queen of the kitchen. You type in the word kitchen and you'll get your chance for another Anita Good Design gift card. Type in kitchen. We'll see if we can't give away a gift card. Kitchen, kitchen. Oh, all kinds of goodies. Let's see. I love seeing people interact in the comments. That makes me so happy. Kitchen is your word. Here they come. Oh, here come the kitchens. We'll give you another moment or two, and this is going to finish up this last letter. Oh, somebody's very excited and said kitchen with a lot of exclamation points. Turn this down so I can see. Awesome. Remember, if you are just tuning in or if you only caught part of it or had to get up and do something, these videos can be replayed as many times as you'd like. They live on our YouTube channel, so you can watch this over and over, send it to a friend, share, comment, like. Remember though, if you're watching the replay or watching it again, the prizes are only for the live version. All right, so we have a kitchen winner here. Ooh. Sandy, I'm sorry, what? Sandy Burney. Sandy, hopefully we said your name right. Miss Sandy, you are our winner. Shoot us an email at this address below. Congratulations. I agree with the commenter who said that's a lot of kitchens. It sure is. That's okay though. We all like the kitchen and we like what comes out of the kitchen, right? Just me? Maybe. All right, this is finishing up some cute little accents. And then reading my design here, it tells me next I'm going to need to place my insulated batting and back fabric. So reading is fundamental. So I already have a piece of pre-cut insulated batting. Remember, this is Embroidery. It's kind of crinkly. I don't know if you can really see, but it has kind of a metallic underlay, and then it has some nice fuzzy on top. So this one is what we'll place next, and then after that we'll place our back fabric on. So I'm just showing you before we get there. You could use any fabric you want on the back. If you don't feel like fooling with Embroidery, you could use regular batting. Just remember, this is meant to be heat resistant, and regular batting may or may not be. There is another product too that I was asked about with the batting. There's one that's called Wrap and Zap. It's microwavable batting. We've played with it a little bit in studio. It sews the same as regular batting, but it is supposedly microwavable. This does have some metal in it, so please don't put this in your microwave. Do not, but it is good for this project. Now, let me show you what we have so far. Look how cute. We have our embroidery on the front. It says Queen of the Kitchen. Super cute. I'm going to turn my hoop over so the bobbin stitches are facing me. So back up. I'm going to lay it flat so I don't mess anything up, and I'll show you what I'm doing. So I'll take my insulated batting, and I'm just going to cover this over. This is way bigger than I need. That's okay. I'm going to cover over my whole design on the back. Too big, better than too small. The next thing I'm going to do, so I have it here. The next thing I'm going to do is place my back fabric face up on top of that. So everything, again, remember I've made it too big. Everything here is laid. I have my design, the back of the hoop, have my insulated batting, and then I have my back fabric. Now I'm going to lay that flat so I don't drop it. And I'm going to use some tape. We love this embroidery tape. You can use whatever kind you like. Some people like the this pink tape. This is R&K's pink tape. Some people like masking tape. Some like medical tape. Whatever tape you use. Remember though, when you're putting something on the back of the hoop, you have to tape it. You have to use something to make sure it's adhered. If you are someone who likes spray adhesive, that's fine, but we recommend tape. I'm going to be very extra and tape all 4 sides because I know that otherwise I might make a mess. So I'm making sure to tape everything down, and I'll show you before I put it in. Oops. This is a new roll of tape. All right. The good thing too about this embroidery tape is that you can use it more than once. So if you ever get a chance to come and do a studio tour, you will see on our tables, there are pieces of pink tape that we're saving to use next time. That is totally okay. Now, what I like to do before I place my hoop back in, everything is nice and secure here. You can see I used a lot of tape. I like to flip it over and just gently, not hard, but just gently smooth everything and make sure it's good and flat. That way my tape is attached. Everything is nice and adhered. Don't hoop your directions like I tried to do. Hee hee. All right, my tape's on. I'm gonna carefully put my hoop back in the machine. Make sure everything is where I want it to be. And I always like to check too. So before you hit go, you might wanna check and make sure. I am going to change this thread so we don't have any bright yellow, just in case. I'll change back to my gray that's closer to my base fabric. Typically on this part of the design, you won't have any stitches showing, but just in case you have one, this way at least it blends in. So I'm changing my thread back. And then I'm ready to run step number 8. So here it'll tell you step 8 of 10 is a tacking stitch. I know what that means. That means it's going to attach everything together. Now, I always like to watch just to make sure everything's where it needs to go. Everything looks flat. If you're ever running something on the back of the hoop and you hear a funny sound or a squeak, or it just looks like it's bunching, just hit stop and make sure, but we're good here. For this tacking stitch, when you are running this at home, you'll notice that this is just outside the tacking stitch of your base that you have here. That's okay, that's on purpose. Remember, you won't really see this later, but that's why I said you might want to get as close to your fabric as you can. Beautiful. It has stitched around twice. Everything is tacked. Let me be patient. Then I'm going to take this out, and I can remove this tape from the back. Oops. I'll put it to the side in case we need to use it later. You know we will. And then on the back, we'll trim. So we're not going to trim anything away on the front, we're going to trim on the back. So everywhere outside of this tacking line, we're going to trim just on the back, and we're going to trim both layers. So I'm going to start by trimming my base fabric. I like to trim 1 layer at a time. If you are super confident, you can trim 2 at once. I prefer to trim just 1 at a time. These scissors are nice and new and they are sharp. All right, got my base fabric or my back fabric out of the way. Now I'm going to get my Embroidery. And the reason we have, again, our tacking stitches always go around twice, that's just in case you pop a stitch. You want to trim really close to these lines, but you don't want to cut through your stitches. But just in case, we got you covered. No worries. Trimming out all my Embroidery, putting that to the side. Oop. All right. So it is now trimmed on the back. You can see I trimmed straight up to the tacking stitches. I am leaving the front alone for right now. Oops, should probably get on camera, huh? So you can see everything. The back is trimmed. The front looks the same. Now let me read my directions. Ribbon and pocket marking stitch. So step 9 is a marking stitch. That tells me that I need to put my hoop back in very carefully. And then I need to run this next step. Now, if you saw my finished product, it has a cute little ribbon and it has these pockets. But we don't want you to have to measure or think at all. We give you placement stitches. That's what step 9 is. It is a marking stitch for your ribbon and for your pockets. So you'll have some scrap fabric to make your pockets, and then you'll have your ribbon. And we tell you in those intro directions, in the very beginning, we tell you about what you'll need. So in that beginning section of the pot holders, we tell you all the information you need, and we specify what exactly you'll want. But these marking stitches make it so, so simple. I love this part because I do sew like outside of embroidery, but there's nothing like a project that you've made before and you already know exactly where to put everything. You can get done so quickly. We always want to give you that feeling when you're making our projects. So here are our marking stitches. Now I did them in the same color, but if you can see, there's a marking stitch up here. It looks like a little, almost like a little U for our ribbon. And then there are some marking stitches a little further down, and Madison's going to zoom and show you those marking stitches. So you can see exactly where to place everything. See those up top? Oop, I'm on the wrong side. You see your little marking stitch here, and then the little lines on either side down here are for your lovely little little back flaps, little back pieces. Thank you, Madison, for pulling that up so we can see. So what you'll want to do next is you will take your fabulous ribbon. I've, of course, just lost mine. Here it is. You'll take your ribbon, and then you're going to place that accordingly. Let me get my pages out of the way here. All right, here we go. So you'll see in the directions, we show you exactly where to put everything. So you do want to follow those machine steps and these other steps as well. That way you get the same result we got. So what I'm seeing is the first thing I want to place is my ribbon. Now I'll show you in the picture too. We show you which directions to place everything. So in case don't stress if you can't see exactly what we're doing here. We've taken a picture of this and done it in real time. So you're going to get to see it 2 ways. I have a pre-cut little piece of fun little scrappy ribbon here. We cut it about 5 inches or so. Bigger is okay. You don't want to go too small because trying to make a loop is really irritating once you get too small. So cut it about 5 inches. Then you'll fold it in half. So no rocket science there, just fold it in half to make a little loop. You'll take your raw edge to be at the top of the design. So you want, remember, this is not sewn at all. We're doing it all on the hoop. So it's going to be turned right side out, kind of like when you make a zipper bag. So you want to make sure your loop is facing, for now, what's upside down. That way when we turn it, bloop, it'll be right side up. Hopefully that makes sense. So place your loop, your ribbon, within these stitches. So I'm going to place mine right in my marking stitch. And once I have this taped, I'll show it to you so you can see it. All right, my ribbon is in. It is taped. Now, all I did is I went in that marking stitch. The marking stitch is right up here. I placed my ribbon. You'll see the folded edge here. The loop is down here. And I put a piece of tape in. Easy peasy, right? Not a big deal. Now the next thing, I will transition to step R. Step R shows you how to place the pockets. I'm kind of harping on the tutorial because I want to make sure that you already know and you're confident that when you have this collection, you have the tools to do it. We're doing it together, but I want you to know that you can do it too. So you'll take your pocket fabric and you'll fold it with right sides facing out. You can press it or finger fold it, that's up to you. I'm going to go ahead and kind of just finger crease it. So when it says right sides folding out, facing out, you want to fold it this direction. Don't fold it this way or your pockets will be upside down. So you're kind of making a loop. If you're an educator or have been a teacher before, we call this hot dog, not hamburger. Somebody will get that. My former life, I was a teacher. So again, you have this folded. You'll take your folded edge, so your nice pretty loopy edge, and you'll align that with your tick marks. So these little marks, I'll show you again, these little marks on either side, there's a mark here and a mark here. You'll align your folded edge with that. So I'm going to fold mine one more time. Again, this is bigger than I need because better safe than sorry. Don't worry about your ribbon. If your ribbon's a little longer, that's okay. He'll be fine. I am folding, and then I'm going to put some tape on it to make sure. So I have folded in place, and as soon as I tape it, that way it doesn't fall off, I'll pick it up and show you. Don't worry. I know you can't see. All right, so I flipped my little ribbon out of the way. Ignore him for now. I have aligned it with the tick marks and taped it down. So this is my folded edge. My raw edge is at the bottom. Folded edge, raw edge, way extra out of the way. Super simple. Now I'm going to repeat that because I have one more pocket. And once everything is all put together, so we're going to do the same thing we just did. I have my fabric, right side, fold it. Super simple. Doesn't have to be perfect. If you are a perfectionist, you can finger crease or you can take this over to your iron, but all we did is fold it in half. This one is going to go the opposite direction, so your raw edge will be at the top. Your pretty folded edge will be at the bottom. Make sure, like me, your ribbon didn't come undone. If it did, that's okay. That's why you taped it.
Somebody says they love your clear instructions.
Oh, thanks. I spent quite a few years teaching. And I also know that those of us who are teachers and educators are sometimes the worst ones for directions. So I think one of the best things about Anita Good Design is that not only do we have, of course, quality designs, we're just as passionate about teaching our customers to be able to use them. We want you to be able to use them. And a lot of people might say, oh, I can't make a pot holder. Absolutely, yes, you can. It's a couple of folds and hit go. You got this. So we want to make sure that you get to see it and that you can participate. All right, I have taped everything together. It looks a little crazy, but that's okay. My ribbon is underneath, pocket, pocket. Remember, your pretty folded edges are in the middle. It almost looks like a little monster mouth. Now, I'm gonna put a little piece of tape in the center too, just in case. Don't really need to, but just for my sanity, since we're doing this live, I taped his mouth shut. Everything is good to go. Remember, this is on the front of the hoop. If you have done this on the back of the hoop, nope, switch sides. We're gonna put our hoop right back in. Oh my goodness, we're so close. This is the very last step. Guess what we do now? We hit go. See how easy that is? This is our tacking stitch. Now, if you are looking at this go around, remember my fabric is way bigger than it needs to be. Do not stress. We're gonna hit go on our tacking stitch. I'm going to watch it very carefully and make sure nothing gets stuck. Oh yeah. We got pockets. Yeah. So it's gonna tack that first pocket, the first top portion up here, it'll tack that first. I always like to watch and make sure it doesn't grab. Yep, we're good. We got a bottom pocket. Question. That's a good question. So the question was, do the pockets touch or overlap? I have mine just touching. If you wanted to overlap a little bit, you could. It's completely up to you. These are just barely touching. That's a very good question though. All right, guess what? We're done. Almost. Now, I'll show you the tack a little bit closer as well. You can kind of see there, it went around that big square and you can probably see my pockets are just touching. Now, the biggest thing I need to do is take this, what looks like a mess out of the hoop and make it nice and cute. So, never fear, we're unhooping. We're moving all this out of the way. It's one thing about stitching live, close quarters. Then I have some excess to trim away. I'm gonna remove my tape. Don't need that. And I'm going to trim away. Now you're probably a little better with a rotary cutter and a ruler. Look what I got. I have a tiny little cutting board and a rotary, just so you don't have to watch me trim away a bunch of extra layers. Now, what I'm gonna do is trim my excess on the side, not directly up to, but I'll leave myself maybe 1/8 of an inch, not much more than that, or it can get kind of hard to turn. I'll trim one and then I'll show you exactly what I'm doing, because I don't think I can cut this in the air. Oh boy. Make sure your rotary cutter's tight so you don't cut your hand off. All right. We have trimmed, we've tried to trim off a side. First cut was not a charm here. Since it is several layers of fabric, it might take an extra chop. But I'm gonna do the same thing. Again, I'm gonna trim off one more piece. So here's what I've done. You can see my untrimmed side. I have a bunch of extra flappy stuff. Over here, I've given myself about 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. So I'm gonna trim these other two sides. And since my ribbon is tacked further down, this excess, no skin, just trash. Again, we made it a lot larger than necessary for viewing purposes. But believe it or not, we do use a lot of our scraps to make other projects. So I am trimming all 4 sides. Did I get my last one? This rotary cutter has been Frankenstein together. So if you hear it clinking, yeah, you did. Now I have this. I can take my tape off the middle. And there's one more final thing I can do. Most of you know this, but if you want slightly better corners, you can trim off some of this excess if you have too much. So we like to trim at about a 45-degree angle. Don't cut those stitches, but that can help you trim a little better, or turn a little better, excuse me. All right, now, one of my favorite things about turning a project is if it gets a little icky, you can always go back and take out some extra bulk here, but for right now, I think we're good. Let's see. So you use your pockets to turn. Here we go. And don't freak out, there's gonna be some tape from your ribbon. That's okay, we'll get rid of that in a minute. We're turning, we're turning. Again, you don't wanna get too close to those seams because you could poke a hole in it when you're doing this, but we seem to have done it. Oh, this is cute. If you have a nice pokey stick nearby, you can use that. Oop. Good tape. All right, I have, now, when you turn it, a lot of the times, it's gonna look a little rumpled. You would too if you had just been turned inside out. But give it a little press if you're worried about it being wrinkled. You can poke your corners out a little further and you'll have a really cute little grabber. Look at that. I made my loop a little longer so my giant fingers can hold it, but I am the queen of the kitchen. I have the back is open where I can put my little fingers in. You can hear that Embroidery. It's a grabby. We did it. We made a pot holder. If you stitched along with us, please show us what you created. Even if you haven't stitched it yet and you're like, oh man, I need to make one of those. Please do. They are super, super cute. This is from the Anita's University 202. These are all projects that start just like you saw with a quilt block and turn into a project. They are the cutest and they are so, so easy. So I would encourage you to try them. This is our pot holder project. I do want to show you our flash sale one more time because it's adorable. This is seasonal peaking pot holders. This is a variety of pot holder that has 2 hoopings. These precious, precious designs. There are some for all the seasons and all year. They do have a functional pocket. Now they are not done in the hoop like you just saw. They have 2 hoopings and they do require some binding, but it's so easy. Just a little bit of sewing and we walk you straight through. You can get these half off until the 23rd. That makes them $15 for this whole collection. You don't need a code, just hop on and you will get this lovely collection for half off till the 23rd. And remember, 202 is also on sale. So you can jump on our website, look at the Anita's University 202. You can get that collection, digital download, so, so good. You can get it instantly and it is on sale as well. So thank you, thank you, thank you for stitching my pot holder with us. We are now all queens of the kitchen, or kings, or whatever royalty title you prefer. We are the rulers of the kitchen. Make sure you pick up 202 for the rest of our projects. We have another one next week. You can get it for $75. That is the best deal until the end of the month. We look forward to seeing you next week, same time, same place. And remember, share this video with your friends. You can watch it as many times as you want.